What's going on, everybody? Here we are in a bear market. Make no mistake, this is a bear market. We are in a recession. Okay, so we'll see what happens, but we know there'll be plenty of excuses, which we've already witnessed from our fearless leader. But listen, you can see by the action. Okay, you're just continuing to head lower, and we'll see what happens, and we'll watch it. But news means nothing. For a while today, it looked like the world was safe again, and there was no problems. And we've seen obviously some wild trade in a number of products today, including crude and wheat, especially. I mean, wheat's been. It's nerve-wracking to watch a trade. I mean, again, it's look at this. I mean, wild up and down 80-cent swings. I mean, it's just interesting. But again, this is what you expect. This is the kind of markets that you get to make the money in. These are the kind of markets you want. Yes, you did. You want to put that I effing killed it today. Oh man, you don't want to post that in chat, huh, big boy? No, it's been again. These are the days that I wish I'd pay big money to be on the trading floor, even for one day. Okay, I mean, these are the kind of days that you just you revel in because they're wild. And again, if you understand what you're trying to accomplish and what you're doing, then they're great. Okay, this is what it comes down to, is what we talk about all the time. If you understand, if you stay away from the stupid ass news, okay, and you stay away from the crap. What's up, sir? Okay, you're welcome. My pleasure. If you stay away from all that crap you hear on TV, and I don't care which station you listen to, you can listen to Fox, you listen to CNBC, or any of them. They're all full of crap. Okay, nobody tells it like it is, but us. Okay, right or wrong, it's amazing. Right or wrong, we show up every Monday. I show up every day, sending out the updates every Saturday. Look, again, we know that we're not always going to be right, but there's certain markets that are obvious, and if you understand how to play them, day trader day today, the regular made, I think, $130, and the aggressive made about $750. Okay, well, did good. Got caught on one. We got caught in long Dow, but we're short S&P, short gold. So it worked out. It was a pretty good day. You can't complain. I don't know which one you're in off the top of my head, but it did well. Okay, continues to make gains. Day trader's dream. Okay, look, again, we just want to keep grinding, right? We went to 2 contracts today. So for the regular, again, we just want to keep grinding out. We're not trying to get rich. This isn't. Those who try to get rich end up poor. Okay, that's the real bottom line. Is those who try to get rich end up poor, because you have to understand that it's a grind. Okay, I have explained that from the beginning with everybody, right? If you over leverage, if you over trade it, if you get yourself too big, you end up in the toilet. Okay, instead of managing your business, okay, and understanding that there's good days, there's bad days, but at the end you want to be net positive. Okay, not every day, but over time. And when you get yourself in position to be over leveraged, you end up in the toilet. Okay, that has been the case in history. Okay, this is not new. Okay, I've seen on the floor, I saw 2,000 traders come and go. Okay, again, we have human nature has a tendency to get too involved and try to get too big too fast, and where that ends up, right? And it's happened to me in the Badger in the 90s. Okay, we were forced to cover, even though we were right, but we were so big and so prepared for what did eventually happen, but we had to cover. Okay, so we all learn our lessons, typically the hard way. That's another part of human nature. All right. 126.32. after all costs for the regular DT today. And the aggressive today was a 755.60 after everything, costs, everything included. Okay. So listen, we all learn our lessons by making the mistakes, but the key is you learn from your mistake and you get better from your mistake. Okay. And that becomes the bigger issue. Okay, is did you take advantage of the opportunity to learn something versus the opportunity to be a putz? Okay. And we've all done it. Okay. As I've told the story many times before, in the 90s, we were so short all those internet stocks, but we had to make a decision because it was getting nerve-wracking. And of course, the losses were mounting. But do we cover or do we go for the gusto and take a chance of being out of business? Well, naturally, what we did? We covered. And of course, not much longer did it not collapse and do what we thought it was going to do. But okay, but I'm still here. 22 years later, 24, 25 years later, I'm still trading. Okay. So, again, it's an interesting dynamic. And it again, greed kills. Greed is good, according to Gordon Gekko, but it also kills if you don't understand how to use it. And those who trade with me every morning, okay, on the day trading stuff, I tell you all the time, well, I'll let you know when it's time to be aggressive. In other words, I'll let you know when it's time to be aggressive and greedy. Okay. Until then, we are going to be very passive and very conscientious about defending capital. Okay. Because in this business, it comes down to what? Defending your inventory, which is your money. Okay. So, it's like hedging. If you're not hedging, you should go see a doctor and have your head examined. Okay. Because this market's going to collapse. And I'm telling you, I don't know if it's going to be down. Again, I'm not predicting when, but at some point, we will be down 50 to 60%. Okay. I predict. Now, again, I can't tell you when that's going to happen, but I will tell you this. You'll have some rip your face off rallies. Okay. But as long as we continue to open higher, you want to look for resistance levels of sell. Okay. That's, again, remember, bear markets typically will tend to open higher and close lower. And the opposite for bull markets, they will open lower and close higher. Okay. That has been a pattern that has worked forever. Okay. And if you understand that and you don't get your mind wrong, okay, and start thinking, oh, this is it, I'm going to pick the bottom. First of all, if you buy the bottom, it means you made a crappy trade. Okay. It means you were gambling. Okay. If you buy a bottom of a market, okay, other than like an 09, again, that's a different setup. But if you ever buy the bottoms or cover at the bottom, it means you're gambling. It means you're not following the protocol that we go by. Okay. So don't pat yourself on the back. You should punch yourself in the head anytime you sell a top or buy a bottom, because you're not following what I've been trying to teach you. How long have I been doing this for? Teaching 12 years. Is that what it is now? I don't even know. But I didn't always teach. I liked it better when I was on the floor working 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, instead of 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. Okay. My golf game was much better than 2. Anyways, again, here we're going to come to a key spot here in the S&P. Okay. It'll probably bounce. Again, there's going to be, I would say, the next day or two, you got a lot of news this week. You get the Fed stuff. You got PPI tomorrow. You might get a rip your face off rally the next day or two. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. Okay. But it's a rally that's going to look so tasty. Well, PPI is not that big. It's really not big at all, but it is something that will drive the markets. Okay. The CPI is actually bigger. Okay. But they're all bullshit. Okay. In general, because again, they're government numbers, not private numbers. So they're always subject to change and adjustments. Okay. So I'll be on trading, but I won't be looking for what the number is. I will trade the price action that the number creates. Okay. I don't care. It's 8:30 Eastern time, I believe. Okay. I don't care what the number is. It's meaningless to me. As I've told you in the past, if I were going to look at one number, which I'm not, okay, again, I still can say after 44 years, have never read the Wall Street Journal, have never read a copy of Barron's. Okay. I've never looked in the newspaper, the business section. Okay. I don't care. Whatever they say is bullshit anyways. I could care less. Okay. I know one thing, that this is all I need to see. Okay. This price action tells me what's in store. Okay. And then tie that together with the algorithm. Okay. And it works pretty damn good. Yes, I know we went through a period it wasn't very good, but again, overall, it works. Okay. And that's what you have to remember is what works. Yeah, we won't be trading the number tomorrow. We'll be trading our normal time, big boy. Okay. I won't be early for that because it's not a big enough number to make everybody come in and then, and then trade. We have a better trade on the normal opening. Okay. The only number that I trade early is the jobs number. Okay. This is not worth getting up. Well, I mean, I'm up, but it's not worth, starting early because we have basically no indexes to trade unless we get a quick trade off of that. But again, just remember that, expect a dead cat bounce, but know this, okay, that you will be preparing to sell it. Okay. Until we reverse trend, you will be looking to sell. So right now, just and this is not for you, Ken, yet. I know you're going to help me with notes tonight, but right now, if we got back to 42.80, I'd be a seller. That's a pretty big rally. Okay. There may be other areas that I would look at before then, but again, right now, automatic 42.80, I'm selling. Okay. And it's like today. Today, I quit trading. I don't know what time it was, about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock Eastern. I said, I'm done. I got profit. I'm short everything. I got profits and everything. I got trailing stops, and they will take me out. Well, I still got a couple of positions open, which I will close before 5 o'clock. Okay. But again, the point is that we know that a rally is going to come. Now, will it dip down first? It would be interesting. Okay. And I would suggest, and I have no idea what's going to happen. There isn't anything that really gives me any real decision or what to think right here. However, if we have a down open tonight and it gets ugly in the morning and maybe PPI makes it uglier, I would probably be looking at a spot to take a chance to buy for the big rally. Okay. Not because I'm turning bullish. Again, remember, I'm trading it. I'm not investing in it. That is the difference between, trading and investing. I have a court at 9:30. Screw court. We had no time for court at 9:30 in the morning. Did you tell me you were busy? I mean, get a lawyer. Tell him to go for it. My shorts were just whatever they were, and I left them short. I don't remember how I got to all of them, but I could see, in my opinion, that you were going to see this nasty meltdown or a sell-off, and I was willing to be short with stops, and I was willing to be short with just trailing stops because I wanted to watch golf. Okay. I mean, listen, not often I get golf on a Monday. Okay. So, and not often do I have the leader right now, tied for the lead right now with Lahari at 130-1. Okay. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right. But again, expect, and so right now, if we get crushed overnight and we're down into the open, I'd probably be a buyer, a nibbler, just for a trade. Okay, looking for, because that's usually a sign. They call it capitulation or whatever you want to call it. They call it, whatever. Oh, look who's here early with me. What's up, brother?
Hello. How you doing?
How are you? Well, I'm just talking about that I say we're in a bear market. Okay, I don't care what anybody else says. I say it's a bear market. I say we're going lower, and I say you sell rallies until proven different. Otherwise, what do you say?
That's what I see. I mean, listen, this is kind of typical bear market type action, so the markets kind of fade every day. What we're seeing in commodities has been choppy. Choppy. And listen, you got to expect this kind of stuff. These markets, the commodities are much more volatile than stocks, currencies, or bonds. And the sell-offs we saw today were brutal, but I think we're in a bear market in stocks. I still think we're in a long-term bull market in commodities.
Listen, I don't disagree with that whatsoever. And I know one other thing, okay, that, when you get these wild markets, it really creates more opportunity. But, I was talking about the wheat market before you got here, and wheat was nuts, okay? And it's been nuts basically for about a week or so. And we went from being long, and now we're short. And again, it's not that I love the idea of being short here because I know the other ramifications behind it. But if it reverses, then I'll get back long again. But
exactly. And you know what? Oil, our target was 100.
You said
100. We thought it was going to go to 100. It went through 100 like a hot knife goes through butter. And by the way, one thing we always know is that resistance becomes support, and these things have to test. So it went to 130 and went back to 100. Okay.
And you said every week that it takes the elevator shaft down, and certainly got the 130, and we take the elevator shaft down.
Right.
Okay. And somebody asked me on Saturday on the big Q&A, am I comfortable being short oil? I said, I'm comfortable in any position. Whatever I'm supposed to be, I'm comfortable. I'm not. Right. Look, I don't think you can put yourself. I think that's where most people end up in trouble.
The algorithms are built on past market volatility and the way markets act, and that's the way they're built.
Correct.
So they're built for these types of situations, and when oil's 130 and then it backs off and then it reverse, the model reverses, you got to go with it because the model is telling you what the high odds play is.
Right. Exactly.
You always want to be, you always want to be betting with the odds, with the best, to put yourself in the best position to profit. So everything makes sense. There's nothing that doesn't make sense.
All right, there is one thing that you're going to give a much better answer than I am because I don't ever look at it. Okay, nickel. There's a question about nickel. What are your thoughts on the nickel situation?
So it's very damaging to the reputation of the LME because the LME attracts producers, consumers, hedge funds, a lot of, it's the most liquid market for the base metals. What happened in 2013, the Chinese purchased the LME, the CME bid for them, the ICE bid for them, but they sold to the Chinese. They're the biggest consumer. And last week, a Chinese nickel producer lost like $8 billion, on short nickel positions when, the previous high in nickel was 51,800 and it went to 101,000. Now, the problem here is that they're hedging and they produce a lesser purity nickel than is deliverable on the LME. So they don't have the material to deliver. So what did the LME do? Again, owned by the Chinese. They suspended trading. And now they're in a room with JP Morgan and this Chinese nickel producer and the people who run the Chinese exchange and with a hotline up to Beijing to Xi's Treasury Secretary. And what they'll do is they'll do a workout where they can deliver lower grade nickel against their shorts. That's what I think happens. However, closing the exchange causes tremendous reputational problems. And in these volatile markets, that only means there's going to be more volatility because there's going to be less liquidity. That's what I take.
I agree with that. I mean, that's the philosophy in any market when these things happen. And this is the same thing that the Hunt brothers tried to do in the 70s with silver.
By the way, the LME experienced this in 1985 when the tin buffer stock manager couldn't cover his long positions and tin sank. And they had the same thing. They had to close the exchange. It's never good to close the exchange. It's never good to limit trading. It hurts the reputation. It chases people away. It's a bad thing. But this is what it is. And by the way, the fact that the Chinese own it means there will be a workout.
Right. Exactly. And that's
is that a good answer? That's my answer.
Well, it's a good answer because it's the right answer. Because again, you said it best. The Chinese own it. Well, what do you think? They're not gonna hurt themselves. They're gonna work it out through the best way they can.
You gotta understand that everything in China is owned by one person, the government. That's it. Everything. It's not like the U.S. We have different corporates. Everything funnels up to Beijing.
Right.
You're going to let them go belly up and they'll lose $8 billion.
Right. Exactly.
JP Morgan is not going to lose all that money by them going belly up. So everyone's got vested interest. They're going to do a deal.
Right. As always, okay. The Chinese acres are getting slaughtered. Yes, they are. And what's up, Daryl? How you doing, brother? It was great to be with you today, man. I appreciate it.
And by the way, they canceled a lot of trades, and a lot of people made money, people lost money, and they just made it all disappear. And that's, I guess if you lost money, it's a good thing, but for the exchange itself, it's a terrible thing. And I read some things over the weekend that some of the hedge funds are just closing their positions down on the LME because they don't trust the market. And they're right.
Of course they're right.
I wouldn't either. I would not. Listen, I never totally trusted the LME since 2013 when the Chinese took over. I've said on this call many times, I don't trust the stock numbers. I don't trust the data. I think it's tilted.
Yeah, listen, we've all witnessed here with Luke and Coffee, and now Baba. But look at Baba down. Now, this is why, okay, you don't try to pick bottoms. You don't say, oh, well, it's a pretty reasonable opportunity to jump in, because, again, if you're going in unhedged, look what you'd have lost.
I think this could, look, first you got an outbreak of corona in China now again. I think that Charlie Munger could use the Russian invasion as an excuse to liquidate his position. So, he doesn't lose face. He might lose money, but he cares more about losing face. So maybe we'll find out that he liquidated. That's possible. But if he did, he will blame the agreement between China and Russia as the reason he did it.
Naturally, listen, they always got somebody to blame. It's no different than Biden right now blaming Putin for the inflation, for the gas price, for everything, right? I mean, come on.
All right, so can I do my bitch for the day?
You can, yes, go.
Okay, so I'm very disheartened, Bubba. And everyone out there. I'm very disheartened about one thing, and it has to do with our government. So let me quote what one of our leaders said when she was talking to a group of people she said that to explain the situation, Ukraine is a little country in Europe. And Russia is a much bigger country. And Russia invaded Ukraine, and that's bad. Okay, so that's one. And then they're blaming, as you just said, you brought it up, they're blaming inflation on Russia. High gas prices on Russian invasion. It's Putin's pumping the pump. I am very angry that we American citizens, and I have a lot of faith in the intelligence of the American public, the overall intelligence, that we can understand things. We are being treated like children. We are being talked to like imbeciles. We are, there is no respect for the citizens of this country. And that's very, very upsetting. And that's going to cause a big problem. Look, we have a problem in that our weakness has has emboldened Putin and Z. There's no question about that. But talking down to the people of this country like they're idiots, like they're children, like they're kindergartners, it's indefensible. It's really quite upsetting to me. And this is our leaders. Our leaders have to talk to us straight. They have to be honest with us. I mean, the honest answer on inflation is very simple. The central banks poured liquidity in they needed to stabilize the market during the coronavirus. And we gave huge stimulus. That lit the fuse. Okay. And our energy policy caused a shortage of supplies and reliance on OPEC and Russia, and now the prices are going up. This didn't start February 24th. And by the way, the CPI for February accounts for 4 days of February. So you're going to blame the CPI for something that's less than, that's like 10% or 20% of the entire month. I mean, this is insanity. And it didn't even filter through. Gas prices only started going up big time in March. So, wait until we get the reading for March. The problem, and my bitch, is that we are being treated like imbeciles. We are being spoken to like we're idiots, and we're not idiots.
Well, but when you have idiots in charge, that's how they treat you.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm
with you.
The American people are being treated like children, And we are being given spoon-fed political answers to real life problems.
Right. And it's a tragedy. And if Russia's so big and Ukraine is so little, how come Ukraine's putting up one hell of a fight?
God bless them.
I'm telling you. Okay. They're exposing their stupidity. They're not talking down. They're expressing their lack of knowledge. November election can't come soon enough. They're like old school pimps.
No, you know what? It's yes, I agree. They are stupid, but I will tell you, the explanation about Ukraine and stuff like that, it's condescending. It's very condescending.
Indeed,
it really is, and it's.
You're right.
You're
100% right. I can't say anything against it because it's 100% right. Okay, this is
very upsetting. I mean, I mean, this is a horrible situation with the world. I mean, we're on the brink of World War III here. A misstep causes a lot of problems here.
I agree. Listen, I got news for you. Okay, if there is any trouble, now I don't know the laws and all the finer points of what governments can do. Okay, but if there's any issue coming up to the November elections, okay, you will see a revolutionary war here. Okay, we are on the brink.
By the way, and if Putin is still alive and is still, and has a victory there, he will be stoking that.
Oh yeah,
please help.
I think that we get real problems we're on the brink of major disaster, not even from the foreign side, but from inside the country itself.
A real leader in this country would have gotten on a plane, flown to Finland, met with Putin, probably got Z on the phone and did a deal. That's what would have happened. It would have happened before the first gunshot.
Yeah, well, listen, for all the people that hated Trump, I can say one thing in his defense: we never had any of these issues under his watch. Okay,
he would have been on a plane.
I don't think we would have gotten this far, but you're correct.
Pence, who, by the way, is a 10 times better guy to send than Kamala, who's a giggling fool with this stuff and who's embarrasses us. By the way, we're not even at the table, Bubba. We're not even at the table.
No.
Whatever decisions come out, we will not participate because we just have a very bad lack of leadership. And the fact that they're talking down to us, it just masks the fact that they're not even in the game.
We have a weakened nation, son. Okay. We are very, very weak right now, and we are very vulnerable because of the way that everything's been handled, from oil, okay, which has been a disaster. And there's absolutely no reason for it. That the saddest part, it's a funny story, Andy, but I pumped gas during the first oil crisis in the 70s. Okay. And oil went from, I think, 50 cents to $1, but we were paying what, 10, 11, $12 a barrel back then. And we didn't care about pumping our own oil. Right. And, it was the first crisis. You had to, line up. You could only get gas on, your license, whatever, however they did it. It was every other day. In the meantime, we didn't care at that time. But here you had an opportunity, and this bozo in the White House had the opportunity to change all that 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks, whenever the State of the Union was, and say, you know what? We're going to go back to opening up the fracking and the shale producing, and we're going to bring our oil prices down, which will then ease pressure on the Fed. It'll take away the inflation, and we'll be back in business. But instead, what does he do? He goes to that jagoff Maduro, okay, who's a criminal killer, and into Iran to get oil. Now, you tell me what you think of that.
Well, I'll tell you. You want to hear even worse?
Yeah.
When we were pumping oil in 1973, when the Israeli the Yom Kippur War, and we were oil embargoed, and that's why the price went up to what it did. What did President Nixon do at the time? When Brezhnev said that if we go in there and support Israel, he's going to support the other side, and he's going to. What did he raised our nuclear readiness to show strength, and Brezhnev backed down, and both of them agreed that they'll stay on the sidelines. What do? When Putin says, I'm going to up our nuclear readiness, what do? We cancel a test. It's a horrible situation of weakness that we're showing here. And the Kim Jong-un is firing ICBM tests. And we need a powwow here with China, the US, and Russia, and they got to do a Yalta kind of deal here. We got to get them to control North Korea. Russia's got to calm down here. This is mutually assured destruction. This no one wins in this stuff.
This is from the war games, tic-tac-toe. Nobody wins that game.
Nobody wins. Nobody wins. Nobody wins. But you know what? We're not even at the table. So whatever China, who's going to emerge here as the great pacifier. We had a meeting today on national security. People had a meeting in Rome today with the Chinese. Very tense meeting, I'm sure. China's dictating terms here. The bottom line is we're not even in the game, and that's very sad.
Correct. And just there's a comment about Venezuela. If you don't remember, many of you, at one time, Venezuela was the richest country in the world, and they could have actually paid all their citizens, okay, but of course Maduro and the other schmuck before him stole all the money, and there is none, okay, so they're all poor people with. Go ahead, sorry.
No, Chavez.
Yeah, Hugo Chavez, okay, and they stole all the money, okay, and they left the people with nothing, okay. So again, we are headed in a very bad direction. Somebody said they bought a little Bob. Look, I wouldn't buy anything right here. I mean, tomorrow morning, if Baba gets creamed in the opening, I might take a shot for a trade, but I don't want to own anything. I don't want to own much of anything other than when I'm hedged, number one. But number two, I think this market's in big trouble myself. Again, I'm not predicting, I'm just telling you what I think. Okay. I think we're in a lot of trouble, and I think that the selling has just begun. Okay. I think that there's going to be a lot of panic here, and there's a lot of things that are of great concern, as Andy mentioned, with some of his bitches and some of the other things. And when you watch what's going on in some of these exchanges, okay, the LME, to be example, which is controlled by the Chinese, these are not good signs, and they do not relate to actual true limits like we have here on markets. I mean, markets have to be open.
That we're heading for a new economic term, hyperstagflation.
Probably
hyperstagflation.
And one thing you
heard it here first.
I'm sorry, babe. I was closing some orders.
No, I'm just saying you heard it here first. Hyperstagflation, because values are going down. We are going to growth is going to be difficult with this worldwide situation, and quite frankly, I expect raw material prices to go higher. I really do. I mean, we might be short in some of them now because of the trends, but I think that
I think oil's going to 150 if we stay under this current past.
I think it's going to a new high. I think I could see 200. I think gold's going higher. I think
agree.
They're all going higher. I think they're all going higher. Copper, they're all going higher. They've all put up new highs and they turn lower, and that's what they do. This is what they do.
Agreed. I'm not. I don't disagree whatsoever. I know what our position is now. Right. But I know what I think.
By the way, gasoline on the exchange went to $3.80, new all-time high, and it's come down to $3. And this morning, the gas price here in Vegas is over $5 a gallon. It ain't coming down. It ain't coming down.
No, not damn. I saw an example. They showed some in California. Some gas stations are over $8.
Yeah. That's not surprising. It's always because it's the percentage tax. At $1, 25% tax is 25 cents, and at $6, it's a hell of a lot higher. It's $1.50 a gallon, and they're making a lot of money. The states.
I don't think China at all regrets putting Putin in charge of this thing. I think this is what remember. China's intended plan is a 100-year plan, and their intentions are to take over everything. Okay, and they can put
looks the better for him. There's no love lost in history between China and Russia. They share a border, and believe me, the minute that they feel that Putin is flexing his muscle too much, they will rein him in or they will put him to sleep.
Right. This is I think they were planned for it, and they're allowing him to do this. Okay, as they sit back. And I'm telling you, within 30 days, China will be in Taiwan within 30 days, in my opinion. Okay. And he says 73, 74, nobody knows where markets are going. Okay. At the end of the day, we know that history tells us They go higher over time, but in the short period of time, nobody knows where we're going. Okay.
You know what? I don't agree with you about China. I have a different view.
Okay. Well, what's your view?
I think that we're going to have a deal. I think there's going to be a deal. And I think that that deal, one of the things in that deal is that China is going to get handed Taiwan in a bloodless situation where they might have some internal, but everyone's going to back off. And I think that we're going to exchange reining in North Korea for allowing them to take Taiwan. We're going to push Putin back to a certain line and have a DMZ. And I think that's I think that's the ultimate outcome here. So I think China's too smart to do what Russia's done. I think they're going to learn from his mistake.
Okay. Well,
but I do think they will control Taiwan.
Well, I mean, again, they didn't care when they went into Hong Kong and broke every deal that was made.
But they didn't blow up buildings and kill people. They did it. It was bloodless. To a certain extent. I mean, listen, some of the demonstrators died, so it wasn't totally bloodless, but it was not what you're seeing in Ukraine.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it isn't because they didn't fight back.
Exactly, and neither will Taiwan.
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. I
Let
think.
me ask you a question. Do you think that people in this country, in this divided country, if we were invaded like Ukraine was, do you think that people would stand up and fight like these Ukrainians?
I think some would, but I think the majority would not.
Very few.
Okay.
Very few. I think these are very brave people, these Ukrainians. They really are. My hat goes off, my heart goes out to them, but you know what? It's a very difficult situation. Very difficult. And you see a lot of crazy stuff here. You see a lot of positive stuff about them. You see a lot of negative stuff about Zelensky. There's a lot of manipulation going on. The bottom line is, whatever the guy did in the past, he's standing there with his people and he's there. And I tell you, for that alone, I give him my respect.
Listen, I'm in agreement with you. Again, I don't see, this is the worst shape. I'm only 65, but this is the worst shape I've ever seen this country in.
It is. We weren't, even you call back the Cuban Missile Crisis. At least during the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was a lot of tension, but there were no shots fired. Here, there's shots fired.
I don't know the answer to this, but maybe you do. Ukraine didn't have the right to bear arms before invasion. Is that correct?
I think that might be true after the breakup of I think they broke away in 93 or something like that, around there. And I think that they had to give back all of their nukes to Russia. And I think that they couldn't bear arms, but this changes everything.
What stock option would be best to trade? Oil, the future. That's the best. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen. If you want to take a diversified approach, the XLE, is probably the most diversified. Get rid of some of that idiosyncratic risk. But all those oil companies have interests in Russia, so that's difficult. I mean, listen. In my service, no secret here. In my service, I had everyone long a lot of oil stocks because, listen, I practice what I preach, and we've been saying that oil is going to go up for more than a year, Bubba and I've put my money where my mouth is. But I've sold those scale up into this. And the one thing that worries me about this is that, hey, Exxon, Chevron, BP, Royal Dutch Shell, they all have huge investments in Russia. So, this is not 100% helpful for them. And I've been taking some profits.
Right. Immigrants will stand up and fight for this country because they know how hard it was to get here. I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah, okay. That's true. But
the old world, the new young punks, okay, that believe in giving everything away for free, okay, and the ones that created much of this mess in this country could care less.
And the socialist wave would embrace this autocratic social Chinese.
The Great Reset.
Right. So,
anyways,
it's sad.
The dollar, big boy. Well, the dollar is up, pushing up against resistance. We remain long at 10, and it's the dollar is 98 to a buck is the
best horse in the glue factory,
and it's not even any good. Okay, but it is what it is. It buys a lot less goods today than it did. Penny candy now is $1,
and it'll buy a lot less tomorrow than it does today.
Yeah. Anyways, 98 to $1 par. And I think it's probably going to, when it gets to par, it'll probably explode through it like it did last time and probably test that 104 level.
Yeah, but first I think we get a dip, and I think that, after the Fed raises interest rates 25 basis points on Wednesday, the dollar probably goes down.
You don't think it's already figured into this market?
Yeah, but the knee-jerk reaction, I think they'll sell it.
Could be.
That's what I think. It's just my feeling.
I am Asamega and to find the rival behind. I hope so. Listen, I'm optimistic too, but I'm afraid. I'm more afraid for my kids, your kids, grandchildren.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm afraid of. Listen, whatever happens today, but I'm worried for generations to come because there's been massive destruction in wealth to average people in this current administration. Anyways, 98 to $1, Kenny. And then, of course, the euro currency 6E, again, it continues to go lower. And I'm going to be right. Eventually, it's going to 88 cents or lower. Again, they're in big trouble, but you have another big move setting up from here.
Yeah, in the meantime, you have a war in Europe. Come on. I mean, this is on their doorstep.
We are short at the moment, and I would certainly be a seller at probably 110 for sure. Okay, I'd look to be a seller. I think 110 and I think 108 is support, but I'm not a buyer except.
Right, and don't forget, Bubba, right across the border from Lviv in Poland, the currency is the euro, and this has got to affect the euro.
Oh, my man's here. How much can commodities go? They can go a lot higher. Okay, listen, you're seeing. We'll get there in a few minutes, but the action's been okay. Okay, in the meantime, 108 to 110. But I'm not a buyer at any price, except in day trading. Day trading doesn't count. Day trading lasts for 5 minutes. Okay, maybe. All right. So, Bitcoin, look, it's on the bottom edge. It's holding. It continues to hold. There's 37,000. I with every step they've tried to do something against the crypto world, it continues to find a way to fight back. Okay.
I mean, last week we had the Biden administration put out an executive order on cryptocurrencies and digital assets, which basically said what he says about everything. It said nothing. So,
he's good at saying nothing.
Right.
He's been good for 47 years at saying nothing.
Right. The bottom line here is that I like that it's made two higher lows. They need to hold.
Right. I'd say 36,000 to 44. That hasn't changed. We've been stuck there for a while. But again, this is one thing that I think becomes more prevalent. The more uncertainty we see, the better it is for crypto overall, in my opinion. But in the meantime, 36,000 to 44, and we are at this moment, we are short. Okay. The bond markets, which you nailed perfectly last week, said, when we were up skyrocketing, you said, no. They're
you got to sell that puppy, right? I did say
that's what you said.
Yeah.
And we're short, and there you go. And again, they're going lower. Okay, look, the interest rates are going up. You can, I looked at mortgages. Okay, 4.25, and I got pretty good credit. 4.25 for a 30, and 350 for a 15. Okay,
timing is everything, Bubba. I refinanced in November. That's when I locked it in. I closed in January, and my old mortgage was 4.25, and I got it down to 290.
No. I mean, look,
it's back at 4.25.
Listen, I borrowed every dime I could from both houses I owned.
Right.
Now I bought Xander a house. I sold mine, bought Xander, and that's the rate. What am I going to do? Okay. Right. I'm with you. If I could have, believe me.
No, I'll get a tax write-off. I mean,
I took every dime out that I could when I could.
Right.
I think I got 2.25, believe it or not. But anyway,
there's nothing better than borrowing money that cheap.
Right. So bond markets were short. Look, 155 would be the upper end and 151 on the downside. Again, I'm not buying this. This is, if you go back to 07, 08, 09, the bonds couldn't go down. They kept going up. They kept going up because, of course, rates were going down. Okay. But now rates are going to start going up, and there's a demand for capital. There's a demand for money, and they have to raise rates because they're too stupid to open up the oil wells.
Right. And by the way, just don't be surprised that after the Fed meeting, you don't get a big bounce in the bond market after this move down. This is just the way it goes. This thing doesn't go in one direction. It makes higher lows and higher highs, or lower highs and lower lows. That's just the way this goes. I think the target, though, is 136.16.
I agree. Okay. Gold, look, it's at a very key and crucial spot as far as our algorithms are concerned. But again, I wrote about this for the last few days. I said that the spike in which we went up, the speed at which we went up was too fast. It had to come back down. And 1940 is about the level that I would expect to see a potential bounce from, maybe sooner, but that would still be in line with an overall uptrend. Remember,
right, but it did one thing that it needed to do. It didn't make a lower high, it made a slightly higher high, which technically is important.
Correct. And it also is, again, you cannot go up at this pace. The parabolic moves are too fast. They cannot be sustained in any market.
Right. And we saw it in copper, we saw it in gold, we saw it in palladium, we saw it in nickel, we saw it in aluminum, we saw it in everything. So, when these things are happening, when these explosive moves are happening, listen, it's impossible to pick a top. You try to pick a top in nickel. The previous high was 52,000. At 60,000, you say, oh, this could be it. And then you blink your eyes and it's 100,000. That's where you pick tops. But when it turns, then you can take a shot, as long as you have the discipline.
In the meantime, 1940 support, Kenny, 1980 resistance, we're long. Silver, again, they all took it in the shorts today, but again, the same philosophy, and here we are. Okay, silver, this is a must-hold level for silver. Okay, if we do stay along, I don't know. I won't know until middle of the night. But if we do stay along, this is a must-hold level right here. Okay, this is a very crucial spot. $25, 25.20. Somewhere in that neighborhood. In the meantime, support would be 25. The next resistance is going to be about 26.25. But I do think we're going higher, but it may come in first before the next eventual up move. Okay. Oil companies closed wells because oil was too cheap. No, they didn't close them here because it was too cheap. They closed because they were forced to close when Biden took office. Okay. Not because it was too cheap. They were forced to close by President Biden. Okay. That was his first mandate when he took office. Okay. And platinum, which we don't trade because it's not liquid enough. Again, this is getting a little bit ugly again, which is, it's been ugly for how many years now, Andy?
What else is new?
Right, exactly. Okay. So we don't trade anymore because it's not liquid enough for us to trade it. But I would suspect if it's not short already, it might be short here. Okay. Or getting there.
Throw up the palladium chart. You might as well.
What the hell's that? I forgot what that was.
PA.
I always forget. Okay. PA.
That's the one. I mean, that's the Russian commodity. That's the one. You got to take a look at it because it was a freak show.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yes, 34.
Yeah, there you go. Only drop
4.25. And this is just the way these things trade. And it's like everything we've seen this week. This is the way it goes. This is
copper, which we're short, and it's getting hammered. It pushed over $5 temporarily, and down it comes. And here we are. Geez, right back into the middle of the range of the overall bigger range. Isn't that amazing? Okay. But you did get your $5 you called for. Okay. And now what? Do we go back up to 5 again, or do we go into
a lot of digesting and whatever? I think this thing continues to make higher highs and higher lows, and the target on the upside is around 680.
All right. Listen. So in the meantime, for today, 440 to 460. Okay.
Got to be a 80% range minimum.
And corn, again, Kyle, here you go, buddy. This looks great. I mean, this action. Remember, the higher prices get, the more they move around, the more volatile they become just by the sheer numbers, by automatic math. Okay. So now here we are in the middle of a range. I mean, you're very bullish. You needed to see some relaxing and some consolidation or a pullback. You're seeing consolidation. So in my eyes, this is very bullish, and I would love to be. I'd jump in and buy more at 730 for sure. Okay, even 720. And I think we're going through. I think we're getting $8. I think
we touched 8 on the continuous construct. But Bubba, corn has been very steady and very, with all the other craziness, the wheat and the palladium and all these other things, nickel, and corn has been very tame, very tame.
I think it's been great, and I think it looks great, and I think it's going a lot. Again, I say right now we're at 740. I say we see 8 before we see 7. I know you agree with that. So
Oh, I definitely agree with that. And I tell you what, I think this year we see 10.
I don't disagree. And soybeans, look at this. This is as perfect as you can get.
Yeah.
As you look at the longer term trend, right here, it's a day or two away from probably making the next bigger up move.
Right. And the next high, I think, will be a new all-time high and will be above $18.
Yeah, I think when we go out of the teens, it'll be into the 20s, not into the 12s. Okay. In the meantime, right here, look at how tight this range is. This is not even a tradable range. If you're trading it, 1650 to $17 basically. Just wait till it breaks. We're already long, so it's cool. Okay.
So Bubba, I've been watching the new crop soybean corn ratio.
Yep.
Right, because it's planting season next weeks or so, and the long-term average about 2.4 bushels of corn in each bushel of soybeans. And when it's below, they tend to plant more corn. When it's above, they tend to plant more beans, and it's below. And they're going to plant a little more corn this year, especially because of ethanol and oil prices, which makes sense. But that means there's going to be too little soybeans.
No,
That's going to.
I think we're going to have a food shortage, big boy.
Yeah, so do I. I'm just saying.
I think that there's a lot of little farmers that are not going to be able to plant because they just can't take the chance.
Or they can't buy fertilizer.
Well, that's for sure. And number one, number two, not only was there dryness in other parts of the world of people that grow, but here we've already got some weather already, and it's just started.
So that all feeds into the World War problem, because then you're going to have revolutions.
Let them eat cake.
You're going to have famine, and that's going to be a problem.
Wheat, look, we're short wheat. Again, it isn't the most comfortable. When you just watch a commodity go up 4 days in a row, limit up, it's not exactly comfortable to be short, but that's what the algorithm is. And, we're in this area, and I would suspect that we're going to churn, between 1160 and believe it or not, 1040 and 1160. It's a pretty wide range, but you had a 90 or 80 cent range today.
And you made a fortune on wheat go on the upside.
So I'm not complaining. I'm happy. Okay.
Right. This is what it is.
I mean, it's going to be wild. It is a little, when you get into these much more wild, volatile things that start cracking limits, you get a little bit concerned. But again, you have to trust what you're doing and know what it's all about. And I think that's what we're seeing. And certainly, I would suspect that we'll find a bottom here at some point and start the other way. And interesting enough, when you see oil going down, Kenny, what did I say? 1040 to 1160. And when you see oil going down, amazingly, cattle starts to rally. Now, these are feeders, and they've been very much hammered. Okay, so you get a natural dead cat bounce, number one. Number two, people I'm not underestimating it, am I? I think I'm on target. I think I've talked about it all the time. I talked about an RFD today. Anyways, I think when you look at this, you're going to get natural bounces like any other market. Just because it says cattle up there doesn't change the fact that you get dead cat bounces, you get short squeezes, okay, and you get natural rallies that come from very oversold conditions. But then add in, what it was coming down to when crude was 130, it's coming down to, am I going to fill up my tank or am I going to feed my family? Well, I can't buy steak and fill up my tank, so I'm going to buy pork or I'm going to buy chicken instead for protein. Okay.
And at these and also with the feed prices and the world market prices, the ranchers are going to be delivering light. There's no question they're delivering light. The carcass weights will be light, and that's additive, and that'll create shortages. So the cure for low prices is low prices.
100%. And so feeders, 156, 157 is going to be a resistance. I mean, they failed pretty miserably today. They were up about almost $5, only closing up 2.5. And fat cattle or live cattle, okay, look, they're going to get a bounce. You're good. Not a surprise. We said last Monday that we probably would get a bounce from here. Again, same theory, just cattle that's been fully fed, ready to go to slaughter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And if you look at the weekly chart, the longer term chart here, you'll notice that the trend still is positive there. The trend still reflects inflation.
Yes, longer term, but again, in the short term here, you should see some selling as it comes back down to the decision time. And if you look at this, I would say, 141 or so would be resistance and 136 is support. And that's the way I'd be playing it. And again, we're short, so we're short both. We're actually short hogs as well, okay, which are next, okay. And again, we're just kind of hovering around, and $100 seems to be a real solid level of support.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we get reversed out on hogs, not tonight, but if we get reversed out on hogs before we make any real money, because I think that the oil is going back up, and I think the pressure is going to be back on cattle. And, again, they got to feed them too. However, it is still a cheaper protein, and, then we'll be into the chickens.
Right. You're also fighting seasonality here a little bit on a short position.
Right. But we pegged this, Andy, back in December. Okay. Right. When December hogs were at like 75 cents, which I've never seen them that high before.
Right, exactly. We were elevated through the whole off season. So,
and of course, crude. Look, you peaked out at about almost 130. What was it? 130.
130 and a half.
Okay, and you're coming down. Not a surprise. Now we're short crude. Okay, and I'm comfortable being short, just like I'll be comfortable being long when we reverse. But right now, it wouldn't surprise me if we came down to even 96 before we start to turn again. I mean, obviously,
here's a little food for thought. All right, and listen, crude oil takes the elevated down. So if we do get some kind of settlement here to make the fourth, we're coming into the last month, it's March, so the quarter ends, right? And to establish the 8th consecutive quarterly gain, crude oil needs to close above $75.15 a barrel. And that's where I peg support in this wild market. And I could see it going down below 80, touching there, and then taking off again. So expect the unexpected in this market.
Right, because we're still in some major backwardation, and all that means is that the fear contract is the tradable, the very much tradable contract. Okay, so when we look at this, you can see that if we go out in time, okay, you can see that crude is 102 and it goes down. If you go out a year from now, it's down in the 80s.
Right, and don't forget, the WTI contract is just 1/3 of the world's pricing benchmark. The other is the Brent, and the Brent is the important one here because the Brent is what Russia produces, right? And the Middle East produces, and that's what they're squeezing, and that's why heating oil and distillate prices are so much higher than gasoline prices. So that's really where the pressure is. And by the way, that Brent WTI spread, which was trading around $2, is out to about it was up to 680. Now it's about 550 because the pressure's off a little bit today. But it's really Brent that's the interesting one here. That traded up to 139.13.
But Kenny, first of all, for you, Kenny, 96 to 112, okay? But for just in general, and we don't talk volume often, okay? But very rarely do you ever see a market drop hard on light volume. Well, that's what you saw here. You saw the market drop hard on extremely light volume, which tells you that the selling was organized and there was no panic to that sale. Okay.
And by the way, don't think oil is the hottest button political football in this country right now. And don't think that the government is not influencing the oil price.
Right. So again, 96 to 112, natural gas.
Well, it kills me when he starts saying he's going to crack down on the oil companies for gouging.
Yeah, right.
That kills me.
Big companies are making too much profit.
And the meat processes. It's just like it's like a President Elizabeth Warren and Bernie.
Let's all work for nothing. That's what I think. I think we should all turn all our money in and work for free. Okay. Natural gas, which we're still long, again, it's holding perfectly along the upward trend bias. It hasn't exploded, but it is trading perfectly. And we're not anywhere near the seasonality. Somebody asked me on Saturday, how low could it go?
Yeah, go ahead.
You go ahead. I mean, somebody asked me how low it could go. I said, I don't know. I couldn't see it going much below 330. I mean, 380 to 350 if it goes that low.
Right. So here's the deal with natural gas. For years, the contract started trading in 1990 on NYMEX. For years, It was a U.S. domestic Henry Hub commodity. Hey, it traded at premiums and discounts around the U.S., but it was really limited to the pipeline network. Then technology comes in, we find all this natural gas, we find a way to make liquid out of it, we start shipping it around the world. P.S. It became a lot more of an international commodity because of LNG. Now, Russia invades Ukraine, sanctions, retaliation, all kinds of stuff. It only highlights that. Expect higher lows. We will not see 140 natural gas like we did in June 2020. Could it drop to 380 or 350? Yes. But you know what? The last time it traded at $5, which it did this month in March, was in 2008. And that should tell you something.
Kenny, 440 to 480. But in the meantime, okay, somebody said, what's the difference between a dictator and one that rules by executive order? The one that rules by executive order can be voted out. The dictator can't. That's the difference. Cocoa, Charlie. Okay, and Cocoa were short, and Cocoa it made a lower high now and is reached and is starting to work its way back. I mean, 26 will be a pretty key level. I know you believe that it's going much higher over time.
Yeah, I do. The grindings are down in West Africa. The pattern since December, I know you're looking at the short term, but I'm looking at medium term here. It is higher highs and higher lows. The thing has to hold around 2480. It's really P.S. It's very unexciting.
Listen, if you take all this out and we look at it just this way, okay, here I'll get rid of all the lines. You're coming to a point where it's going to make a very big decision one way or the other.
Right.
Okay? That's what you're seeing. In the meantime, 26, it's probably 26 to 2680. Okay. Cotton, we're still short. Okay. It's kind of fine. I think it's kind of found a bottom. I don't think cotton has much more room to go on the downside. We're short, but we're short. That's all. What can I tell you?
It's doing nothing. I mean, it's really kind of consolidating. It came down from that high, made a nice high, came down. Just consolidation, digestion pattern.
All right. In the meantime, it went from 49 cents to $1.20.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And sugar, Sierra Bravo, which we're long. Yeah, look, it's consolidating as it waits to potentially make the next big up move. This is no different than the other chart. You have a parabolic move to the upside. It cannot continue. This is where people always fall into the same trap. It cannot continue. It has to either sell off hard or consolidate before making the next move. And right now it is doing exactly as it should. It is consolidating between 19 and 1950.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the range.
And you if it breaks much below, then you start to think that it's going to actually reverse. But right now, it's a big nothing. We're long, but it's a big zero. It's going nowhere until it breaks out of either 19 to the downside or 1950 to the upside. And until those things happen, it's going to churn in this range here. Okay. OJ, okay, Oscar Juliet, okay, which we are long, but it got pounded last Monday, I think, when we were here, and it found its bottom. And
the price action is pretty good here to me.
Yeah. What's going on in Brazil? Anything of note?
I looked at the Brazilian real. It's sitting between 19 and 20 against the dollar. By the way, this is all very good for Brazil. They're far away from the war. They have relations with the U.S. and with Russia. They're a BRIC country. They produce a lot of commodities. They got a nationalistic leader there. The bottom line is they're going to make good money there. That's I kind of like what I'm seeing in Brazil. There's a big election coming up, but
Yeah, no, again, that's why I asked. You follow it, I don't. I watch prices only. I could care less about anything else. Coffee, which we are short, and I think we still both think that it's going to $3 before it's all over, but we have come dramatically down, and now we're testing another key level of support, but we are short. We've been short for a while here. So
right, and I could see coffee. Listen, the breakout level was $1.76. There's no rules in this. It could go back and test that.
100%. Okay.
And if it does, it'll be a spike low. I can tell you that. It'll be a spike. It'll be a spike. It'll go fast. Because
right in naturally, yes, and you got the drug dealers to deal with there too. That's
this a big thing goes, nothing goes like that.
There's a big drug dealer contingent involved in coffee as well. And lumber, look, lumber is going down, but it's still from the 400 or 500 it was, it's now a 10, what, 111, 1100. Okay, it's really churning between 11. Now we don't trade this, obviously. It's not liquid enough. It's just a benchmark on what the general economy is. What do you think of the general?
I think that lumber, again, it has this uncanny ability to kind of forecast what's going to happen in other markets. So it was rallying, it was looking strong, and all of a sudden, copper, gold, crude oil, they all exploded higher. And now lumber, as it usually does, is, when that's happening, it takes a rest, it goes the other way. Look, a big move could tell us what's going to happen in the others, because this thing tends to move before the others.
Right. And again,
got to hold 1,000, I would say.
Just remember, okay, that markets move in mysterious ways. And when we get this excess volatility, okay, it's actually money making. Those are the best money making opportunities. If you understand the market and stay away from the stupid ass news, okay, it's a great opportunity to trade off of the price action that the market shows you, because the market gives you a layout of what it's intending to do if you're willing to listen to it. Unfortunately, too many people want to talk about the war. They want to talk about this. When you're trading, none of that matters. Okay, the price action tells you long before any of that what's going to happen in the market. Okay. Any last minute thoughts from you, my brother, before we switch over to the actual Monday call?
Just let's be careful out there. Let's keep in mind what Bubba just said, the news. Ignore these pundits. The experts who are experts on coronavirus are now experts on Russia, which shows you how much experts they are.
And both Fauci and Powell are missing purpose people. We have to get
They're on vacation. They're on vacation.
You got to get where's Waldo to find them. Okay. Now, again, remember, okay, that you don't have to trade bigger when it gets wilder. You have to trade smarter, okay, and allow the markets to work for you. Don't think that you're going to get it. And remember this, out of all the people you ever watched on TV, there was only one guy on TV that traded his own money only. And you all know who that was, right? His name is Bubba. Okay. I'm the only guy on network TV that was the only one trading my own money, not recommending for others. Okay. Anyways, we're going to stop this recording. I'm not going anywhere, but we're going to stop this recording and get the next one started. So let me let my girlfriend whisper in my ear. Hold on. Thank you, darling. Okay. And now we're going to get to the actual Monday call. We keep getting longer and longer and earlier and earlier. Anyways. All right. Record the cloud. Yeah. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome. And it is Monday night, or it's Monday afternoon, whatever it is. And what a great day. Golf on Monday, March Madness. And I'm exhausted from the weekend. There were so many overtime games and crazy games. And unfortunately, none went my way, but we'll see what happens in the tournament. And I'll have my selections later this week. But in the meantime, we've got wild markets that are headed south. Okay, that's pretty evident by the price action. And, we just want to remember that we want to trade with it and pick our spots. And now we go into, if you remember before, we were in the buy the dip mentality. We're now in the sell the rally mentality. Okay. And that's what you have to look for. I follow price level and level as you advise. I'm finally becoming profitable. You're welcome, my brother. I told you, just be patient. I am too old to live under socialism. I am addicted to luxuries like toilet paper, electricity, food, clean water, and shoes. How about that? Okay. And that's all the things I want to take away from us. Okay. Just keep that in mind as you continue to know who's in charge. And of course, tomorrow night starts the hedging class, last one until September. Okay. You're going to panic, watch your cash disappear, or hedge. What are you going to do? The choice is yours. To me, it doesn't matter. I always hedge. So, and those who have been members for years always hedge. And how's the hedging been working out for you, folks? Pretty good. Okay. In the meantime, it's got that already. Okay. And of course, always we thank our military. And I thought this one was, if you walked in our boots, you would quickly realize how good America has it. But most haven't. And that is why so many citizens are willing to shit all over our country. Okay. Now, again, you can take that for what it's worth, but I think it's right. I think that we're too spoiled. And I think that we've given away too much, and every generation has to work less and less. if you go back to how about your father and your mother? How hard do they work?
They worked. I think they worked too. They both worked. They both worked from the time we were small kids. They worked until they retired. They worked every day of their lives.
Yeah. I mean,
And they worked hard.
right. I mean,
my dad had 2 jobs, and
right. No, I get it. Listen,
he was a professional guy. I mean, he was a head of a probation and corrections, and he also taught. So, and it was he taught because he needed the money, because those jobs were not high-paying jobs.
So to all of our public servants and military and all you guys, we always thank you, because again, you put your life on the line to protect us, and you do it for basically no money. And God bless you. Thank you.
Military, cops, firemen, all of these,
all of them. Again,
nurses, this is all of them.
And I have a lot of military people here, and I can't ever thank you enough for making the country as good as you can. You can't control everything, unfortunately, but you've made it as good as we can have it. So in the meantime, as I always give you my thoughts first, and Russia's war in Ukraine could spike global food prices by 22%. How about 44%? How about 66%? Okay.
How about 220%?
Listen, it wouldn't surprise me a bit. This is going to be nasty. This has a potential, Andy, to be the worst we've ever experienced.
Yes.
Okay.
And forget prices, availability.
Yeah, and because you've created a monster by doing nothing. You've created a monster with your shitty policies, excuse me. Okay. And you've allowed this to take place. Okay. You've allowed this total breakdown of the supply chain. Okay. For nothing. Okay.
From many times in history where people could go to the supermarket with a wheelbarrow full of cash and there was nothing to buy.
Yep. Fiat currencies are going to fail spectacularly. No kidding. I mean, they already are a failure. There's the fiat currency system is good for one thing. Okay. It's good for it's good for the governments that can continue to steal money from the public. Okay. By devaluing their currency, allowing them to spend ridiculously. And again, if any of us lived like they did, we'd be in jail or in bankruptcy court. Okay. I mean, this fiat currency, this is what's going to make the cryptocurrency world eventually take off, in my opinion. Democracy is at stake. Democrats urge Americans shared sacrifice over soaring gas prices. Now, Andy, I got to ask you, okay, we don't have to have soaring gas prices, do we?
No.
We could solve this problem if the president would sign an executive order. Could we not solve this problem tomorrow?
Well, we have to incentivize oil companies to pump oil. And then the oil companies have to go out and get the people who are now working for Amazon to come back to work.
Okay. And if he signed an order, okay, today or tomorrow, where does crude tomorrow?
$60.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. So, I mean,
not 40, but 60.
No, not yet.
75 on its way to 60. 75 on its way to 60.
And here's what you've talked about forever before the Russia-Ukraine war: threatens the wheat supply, jolts prices. Well, again, if you remember, Andy has said every week on this call that wheat is a very political commodity, and Russia's 1/3 of the world's supplier in wheat.
And those acres
for fertilizer.
Right. And those acres are today minefields and battlefields, because a lot of them are in Ukraine, and that's Europe's breadbasket. And I've said it here and I say it again. You look back in history, Marie Antoinette, the last queen of France, she lost her head over a wheat shortage. The Arab Spring started in Tunisia and Egypt as bread riots because the prices went sky high in 2008. P.S. They went sky higher than that last week. And it took from 2008 to 2010 for it to filter through. So we are not through this. The next 2 years are going to be brutal. You're going to have a lot of shortages and really high prices. And bread is a staple, and it's going to affect particularly the third world, and it's going to cause a lot of political upheaval. Really, this is a problem.
Listen, I'm in agreement. Look, we talk about it all the time. Okay.
I don't even think the price peaked yet.
Canadian Prime Minister is trying to find desk jobs. Yeah, for oil workers. Yeah, that's what we need. We need more government workers. Okay. Anyways, the words of wisdom from our friend Connie, who just made it in. And thanks, Connie. Mistakes are proof that you're trying. And again, I tell you this all the time. Okay. failure is your next level to success. If you never fail, you ain't trying enough. Okay. And you're not making enough if you never have a failure. Okay. And of course, there is the State of the Union. Joe, let's forget the whole Build Back Better, and I'll settle for put it back the way you found it. I love it, Connie. You always come up with the right thing to say at the right time, and God bless. Okay. The Biden administration energy secretary and her academic personnel in charge of government energy departments of the EPA have to reverse their practice and let oil companies work. They are choking future production. Indeed. Okay. And of course, I've been bitching for over an hour, but I get one more, and this will be the last one, maybe the last one. Okay. But I want to know, when did America become ass kissers? Okay. When did we bow down to anybody like we are doing so now? Okay. Nothing hurts me more than to watch these imbeciles that are in charge of our country bow down to Maduro, okay, a killer crook, okay, and the Iran, Russia, China, Saudi Arabia. Are you kidding me? When did we become this? Okay.
Saudi Arabia won't even stick their ass in our face. They won't even take the phone call.
The last time Obama was president, it wasn't quite this bad, but you got a point. Okay. Anyways, so as we get to the actual markets themselves, and we have to finish up with our indices, right? So we've got.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Do you think the Saudi prince would have not taken Donald Trump's phone call?
Do I think what?
Do you think the Saudi prince would have taken Donald Trump's phone call?
Yeah, I think that he would have been.
I will tell you, I think he's still.
Anybody got on his plane and come here?
Yes.
Okay. Look, you can think what you want of Donald Trump. Okay. I happen to like him. I think he was the best president of my lifetime. But whether you liked him, you didn't like him. The one thing we had when he was in office is law and order around the world. North Korea wasn't launching nukes, and we weren't having this trouble in Russia, Ukraine. We had control of our own oil, and China was in line. And all that has changed. Okay. So again, you can, whatever you think, again, you can hate him, you can think he's a big mouth, whatever. To me, we had law and order, which in our world is the most important thing right now.
Isn't it a little funny and ironic that they impeached and they were whining about Trump and saying that the Russians wanted him in there, the Russians they wanted him in there. They did all these things to make him. It just doesn't compute. If you think about it, you step back and you think about it, they're doing much more damage, and they're doing what they want with the other party in there. They're happy that the other party's in there.
100%. Okay. In the meantime, the YM, Yankee Michael, which is what we use for the Dow, and of course we're short, and it continues to head lower. Now again, if you get a spike, I wouldn't be surprised if we get we're going to get a rally this week one day. We're going to get a rip your face off, jam it, but we're going lower. Okay. And for right now, support's at about 32.5. Okay. Resistance is about 33.5. And don't be surprised if we get to 33.5 tomorrow. I mean, I don't know that. I'm just saying that's the place you want to be a seller. Now you're looking to sell double tops, or in other words, you're looking to sell resistance. So 32.5, 33.5. Okay. And the S&P Echo Sierra, again, 41.60 is some support. Okay. 42.80 is the resistance. And again, we get the 42.80 almost blindfold. If it gets there tomorrow, blindfold, I'm selling. Okay. But that's tomorrow. Every day changes. So just don't put a resting order in. You've got to see what the market's doing at the time it happens. But if we get that, when we get that rip your face off rally, I guarantee and I promise you I'll be adding to my short positions. Okay. That much I can guarantee. In the meantime, 41.60 or so to 31.8 to 42.80. Okay. And the NASDAQ, November, Quebec. This is the worst of all. This is continuing to break lower and lower, and you'll get a big spike here, but tech is in a lot of trouble.
It was the best for years, and now it's the worst. It makes sense.
I mean, this is just like if you remember the internet bubble of the 90s, this is very similar. Okay. And unfortunately, I think it's got a lot of room to go on the downside.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, the chance of the rip your face off rally probably, if I had to time it, I would probably say that right after the Fed meeting, that's when it's most likely to occur.
Could be. Again, I don't predict them. I just know that they come, and I expect them. And again, everything. The real key in the next couple of days is always about what the opening is. if they really crack them hard coming into the morning and into the open, there's a greater probability that you'll see a spike rally from there versus if they do what they did today, they open them much higher and they can only go lower from there. That's really the kind of atmosphere we're in, because bear markets typically will open higher and close lower, and bull markets will typically open lower and close higher. In the meantime, you've got 13,000 is pretty key. Okay. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it come off of that and bounce off of 13,000. I mean, whole numbers in general are usually places where you see either sellers or buyers step in. In this case, it would be buyers. And I think you're going to look at probably 13.4 as the resistance, 13,000 or 13.4. And the Russell, which we're so long, it's the only index we're so long. It doesn't look good, but it does look the best out of the crap. Okay. Now, I don't know if we'll still be long tomorrow. I cannot answer. Obviously, you'll know in the morning when I send out the update at 3 a.m. But in the meantime, for today, I still say 1900 is coming into play. And I think it's 1900 to 2080. Okay, those are the levels there. And if you recall, 4,300, yeah, it's certainly we're in a great chart. And if you recall this morning on the update, I said, the VIX is not going down as much as the market was up at the time. I said, keep an eye on the VIX because you're probably going to see a much bigger sell-off. And sure enough, look what happened to the VIX. The VIX popped. Okay, it was up even higher at one point. Okay, and then it started to rally. But meanwhile, we're continuing to hold these higher levels, which means that volatility is probably here to stay for a while. What do you think?
Yeah, the demand for price insurance is higher. I mean, all this thing does is reflect the price of the implied volatility of options on S&P 500 stocks. And the bottom line is that the demand is pretty strong in this market condition, and that should continue.
Okay, and now into the stocks. Apple, Alpha Papalima, breaking down again. And we're down, at the 150 level. Okay, now we're still short. We've been short since forever, since, about 161, 162, but we've been trading back and forth, and it looks like now you're looking at the 145 level or so as some potential support. Now, again, you'll get a bounce here at some point. I mean, this is certainly ugly, but it should head lower, and I would say 145 to 155. And if you don't think it can move that far, all you have to do is look at the IV, or the implied volatility, on the option market. And the option market is telling you that between now and this Friday, you can see a $7 move. That's just in the next 4 days. Okay. And that's based on current volatility. So a $10 range is not all that big when you think about it. Okay. In the meantime, we're short, and it's 145 to 155. Alpha Golf, our silver play, okay, which we are long. Okay. Now, obviously took some pressure, but notice where it got to, $14. Okay. We've been long this, okay, for a while. And, I think we got long at around 10:30 or 11. Okay, it got up to $14. It's a pretty nice return. Here we're coming back down a little bit, but I think that 1250 is support. And again, obviously has to do with silver. Okay, and somebody asked me about another silver mine. To me, if I'm going to trade in a silver mine, somebody asked about Hecla. To me, this is a much better play than Hecla. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to look at the only other option that I use here, I like First Majestic. The other option I use is SILJ, which is the junior
miners.
Yeah, it's diversified. So
yeah, I got it.
So it's silver soup.
1250 to $14. Okay. AMD, Alpha Michael Delta, which will remain short as well. And look, we continue to stay within our channel. It continues to head lower each and every week. Here is a key hold of support at about, right around 100. Okay. Again, we'll see what happens. Okay. I mean, obviously, is the palladium and the platinum telling you that we haven't solved the chip problem and it's getting worse again?
You know what? The palladium and the platinum are not telling me anything. They're all about Russia now. So,
okay.
Sorry, I can't read anything into those markets. They're all Russia.
All right. Well, again, so we're hovering in the downtrend. We're still short. And to me, you're looking at 108 to 100 and then lower. I mean, certainly if it gets through 100, it's probably going back into the low 90s or the 80s. But right now, 100 to 108.
I will say it looks terrible.
And again, this is why we don't nibble on what we think or perceive as potential value. We wait for the price action to tell us what to do. Okay, we're still short BABA. We've been short BABA, and it's going lower. And the only case I can make for today is a potential trade is the heavy. If you've noticed, this is the biggest volume spike of everything we've looked at so far today. Okay, And this would be the one thing that might say to me, hey, maybe I want to make a trade here. Okay. But it would be a trade only with a limited amount of risk to go along with it.
I wonder if that was manga puking.
Could be. They don't usually puke though. They held Goldman Sachs from 130 to 20. Okay.
Oh, I know, but this is Chinese stock, geopolitical. If he ever was going to puke something for a political reason, this would be one.
No, you're right. They got an excuse, so maybe they did.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, he is bleeding. I mean, this guy's bleeding.
And
this thing is 220, Bubba.
There's no reason to jump in here and buy this. Okay, except if you're making the trade off the blow off as a very short-term trade. George, you own it.
By the way, think about this. Think about this. If the U.S. and China start spitting at each other over Russia and their support for Russia, these companies could get delisted. You got to be careful here.
Right. Again, and we don't know what's real anyway. So in the meantime, right now, if I was to do anything, I'd be a seller at about 85. Okay, and then you rally to about 85. Okay, right now it's going lower, and there's no reason. And look at how perfectly it broke out of consolidation, trended lower, and now you got the blow off. So we're going to see what's going to happen here. Most likely, you'll see some consolidation with a little bit of a pop before it goes down even further.
If you're manga and you loved it at 220 and you liked it at 220, you loved it at 120, and you had 75 and below 80. Oh, it's so horrible.
No kidding. Fido continues, and again, we have not made an official trade. We have traded this on our Saturday call as a straddle versus a strangle, and it's working very well. Okay, but at the end of the day, okay, it's really just consolidating. But really, what I want to see here, which we don't have enough information yet, and the futures don't trade well enough yet in Bitcoin because they don't go out months yet, right? You really can only really trade in the front and expiring month, which makes it much more of a challenge. But I really want to see how they handle the backwardation contango, because the biggest flaw in many of these ETFs is the way that they handle backwardation and contango, which we cannot tell you. But certainly anybody who wants to be a participant in Bitcoin, okay, could buy this if you want to, versus being involved in the wallets and all that, the stuff that goes with the regular Bitcoin. And Tradier, I would suspect any day now, will be announcing that they will be handling the cryptocurrencies as well. Okay. And that will be part of your regular brokerage account if you're with Tradier. So in the meantime, for today, I think the 24 looks like it's pretty good support. It looks like it's 24 to 28. Okay. But again, if you're looking to take a gamble on Bitcoin, you don't want to open a wallet at Coinbase or wherever, this is a play to make if you want. Okay. And of course, Bitcoin Soup, Bravo, India, Tango, Quebec. This is actually starting to break down again a little bit. And this is a combination of a lot of miners. I think there's about 40 or 50 different companies in this Bitcoin Soup. Okay. Including Mara and Riot, which we cover here. But, again, if you're looking to gamble on Bitcoin, these are places that you can take gamble trades. Okay. We don't carry it in any portfolio. It's when we cover because we are believers in the crypto space. Okay. So again, it's just something to look at, but here it looks pretty weak. But again, if you're looking for a way to get into that space without having to go through, the other channels, this is one of the ways to do so.
I know that soup is very salty.
Chewy, Charlie Hotel Whiskey Yankee, which we're long, which I'm sure will be short tomorrow. There was a little bit of a mismark on the sheets this week, but we will be short tomorrow. I'm pretty certain based on the action. So in the meantime, I can't 100% guarantee that. So I would say that 37 could be some support or just below 36, and 40 is resistance. But I would be willing to bet that it will be on the negative, on the short side tomorrow. And it's interesting because it's such a great company, but it doesn't matter. That's the point is it doesn't matter how good the company is. When markets want to go south, they're going south. Okay. And I think that's the important thing to understand, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love this company. I use this company. They had the best customer service in the world, but it doesn't mean the stock can't go down to $20,
As do I. Okay. In the meantime, so we're going to use 36 to 40 coin. Charlie, Oscar, India, November. Again, another one breaking down. Okay. Now we do carry this and we are short. Okay. Coin. And it looks pretty bad. Now this is, this does much better it's, Coinbase is the bookmaker. They make the markets, they make the trades, they get the commission that goes along with all that. And when markets are soft or consolidating or going lower, there's not as much action or volume, which means it's bad for them. And of course, they're going lower. If I'm right and if Andy's right, then this will be much higher at some point. And it was actually earlier this year, it was at 360. Well, it's more than half its losses. Okay. It's lost what, 60% from its high. Okay. And just because it's lost 60% doesn't mean it's just step in and buy. It means wait for the trend to change and look for a spot to get in later. Of course, if you're hedging it, that change is part of the equation. Okay. Chewy advertising vet meds. Okay. I mean, I love the company, Chewy, to be honest with you.
They sell 70,000 products from 2,500 different brands.
Yeah. So in the meantime, right now, 160 is resistance. There is no support. Okay. 160 resistance, no support. And that's got to be, we don't cover these anymore, but just real quickly, again, I got fooled again by the pot stocks. Okay. Curl F. It's, look, if you want to gamble, and it's apparent that this government, this administration is not going to federally legalize it until Altria.
There ain't no executive orders on pot coming out.
No, so, you can forget about that. In the meantime, this is another surprise and disaster, which we're short in the portfolios. Okay. I actually own it. I'm hedged it. And I'm getting to the point where I got with American Airlines. I'm getting tired of adding to it. And I'll let you know when I make that final decision. But I do think that it is, and I think you agree with this, is an outstanding chance of a takeover, especially with Vegas trying to catch up to all the apps now. And since they've spent all the money and their acquisition costs are so high, which is why they can't make money because the profit is limited to, about 5% of their handle. I think they're a perfect candidate to be taken out. What do you think?
I think so too, but a lot of people still think it's overvalued. I mean, Chanos is big shorted. Other people think it's overvalued. The trend is horrible. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, that's why we're short. But again, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to say, so long, c'est la vie. Well, we'll talk. We already talked about gold once, and I'll get back to it later, but not until I finish my list here. So you'll have to hang tight. Okay. In the meantime, we're still short, and right now, I mean, to me, you got to look at 18 as the top resistance now, which it keeps getting lower, which is not a good, healthy sign. Okay. And the other thing that this is telling you is right now, although we both think there's an opportunity for a potential takeover, there is no interest in taking it over either because there's not even any rumors floating around. So, and Facebook, Foxtrot, Bravo. Well, again, we're short this as well, and it continues to just get hammered. Okay. Now, the metaverse, the meta, whatever you want to call this stupid thing. Again, it looks like it wants to go lower. I would suspect that 200 is very hard resistance, and I think we're going to break to the next level below. I mean, I don't have one to look at, but I think it's going through 185, and I think you're probably going to see. I think there's a chance to see 150 in this stock. Okay,
it looks terrible. It's got that. It doesn't have too many friends.
Right.
On either side of the political spectrum. It's a problem. The thing, if you're long that stock, what you got to hope for is that all of a sudden, there's one thing that can make this stock rally is a new CEO.
Yeah, you might have missed AMD. I didn't miss it. 102 to 100 to 108, big boy. I covered it in detail. Okay, you might have missed it, but I didn't miss it. Okay. In the meantime, again, right now, 200. I'm a seller. That's it. I'm short, and I'm staying short. Okay. First Solar, Foxtrot, Sierra, Lima, Romeo had the big pop. We were long, and now we're still long it. And of course, we're now at a key spot in this stock right here. As we said before, almost on every other trade like this, the rally was far too sharp. You had to see some consolidation or a comeback. Well, here you are. Okay, at $72. That's about where it's got to hold. If it doesn't hold there, it's probably going to reverse and go lower. Okay. You'll watch replay. I know.
Interesting the correlation since late February with oil there.
Right. I know it's late there for you, sir. I know it's, you might have dozed off for a minute in London, but in the meantime, 72 is the key level to watch. I'm already long it, but I personally wouldn't do anything additional to it. I'd like to see what it does from here. It's going to make a much bigger move. I say it probably will move 10 or 15% one way or the other. Okay, I don't have any idea which way. GDX, okay. GDX is, again, no different than gold. We drew this in last week. The overwhelming spike higher had to bring either in consolidation or lower prices. It kind of brought in a little bit of combination of both. We are still long GDX, okay, in our portfolios. I think that 36 is the key number here, okay, and I think that it's 36 to 39. But I think if we build enough consolidation here and enough, power and a base, we could see well over 40. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just seeing we went up to like roughly 2080, 1800 was the pivot point. And yeah, 1940 is kind of where gold probably should come down to and bounce. So, maybe this stock down to 35 and a bounce. That's what I would think.
So, it's only point. No, I think it's a 6-hour time difference for me. Whatever. I know it's late for you. Either way. Okay. In the meantime,
5 with New York, 8 with here. Although we changed the clocks, I don't think they
right. They may have changed it. So it's 36 to 39. Goldman Sachs, Gulf, Sierra, okay, which we're also short. And here we are hovering around, 325-ish or so. I mean, 320 appears to be some support. I would suspect 340 is pretty good resistance, maybe even before 335.
Don't underestimate the loss of income from Goldman on these oligarchs.
Right.
Don't underestimate that because they're very big in Russia. They always have been very big in Russia. They're very big on the commodity side with Rusal, with the aluminums. They're very big with the oligarchs. Those are billions and billions of dollars of accounts. They'll do great. Don't worry about them. But, this weighs on earnings.
But their cash flow right now ain't so good.
Right.
Anyways, 320, 340. India Whiskey Michael, which we are still long, unfortunately. But again, it has been stronger than most. Okay, it's been kind of hanging in this range, very much like the future. Okay, I would not be surprised to see it reverse tonight. Again, I don't know, but for today, as it looks, 190 to 200. But again, it could put. You'll know. Obviously, those who are in those portfolios will know well before the market opens, because I do send out the updates around between 1:30 a.m. and 2:30. So, in the meantime, for now, it's 190 to 200. But I have a feeling it may be turning over. So again, I don't know that yet, so I can't answer. Mara, Michael Alpha, Romeo Alpha, which we do carry, and we are still short. And again, it's still stuck in a very much of a consolidating range, but it does look like it is starting to form a potential descending triangle. My experts here, what do you say, Chief Colonel? Does this still sell the rip, or are we finding a bottom? I know you trade every day, so I want to know. Okay. Inquiring minds want to know. It's that buy below 10. We're at 21. Okay. And this is from somebody who's extremely intelligent, who trades it every day, and has probably in these crypto miners the best feel of any of us. Okay. But in the meantime, we are shorted. And for today, 20 to 25 is what I'd be watching. But again, I take a lot of faith in the Colonel's judgment and saying that it's a buy under 10, which originally that's where we started with this at 6. Okay. Anyways, 20 to 25. Neo, we're still short. That Strangle's got to be paying out pretty good for you, brother.
China.
I mean, you got to be making a fortune off of that Strangle he put on last week. Okay. Look, we're short. We've been short. Okay. It's going lower. There is no support. Okay. All you can look for as a potential dead cat bounce, which in this case would be either 16 or 18 as resistance, and look to sell it again. It does have earnings, I think the 24th or something like that. So, but again, these are sells, and look at the perfection of the down move. I mean, this is almost perfection. You could put this in a book. Okay. So you'll probably see at some point here some consolidation. Maybe you'll get a pop for earning. I don't know. But in the meantime, it's going south and we're still short. Okay. That's the way it should be. All I would be saying that today is look at resistance at 16 or 18, but it looks like it wants to go. It looks like it wants to go to 0, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's right. Shenzhen locked down because of the coronavirus, and they manufacture their panels there. This is a waiting on all these Chinese businesses. Aside
new-
from Russia, which is also weighing on them, you know, the new lockdowns, they're locking down. So that's the issue.
and nugget, okay, and nugget, which we carry, which we are long, and again, same thing as GDX, except it's on bigger steroids, but it moved too much. The charts are identical, okay, and right now, as you look at this chart, 65 is a must hold. It's going to be like 65 to 75, okay, that's all. The pattern is not bad. You knew that it was going to come back a little bit. It was. I wrote every day for Kitco that gold has to come down a little bit. It cannot keep going up at that pace. As much as the bulls wanted to go up at that pace, it cannot do. It cannot happen. Okay. So now we're going to see.
Now you'll hear tomorrow. You'll get your manipulation emails.
I get that all the time, and you know what I say about that crap. In the meantime, you got 65 to 75. Okay, and it's at a very key level. It's either going to break back down and give us a short move for a while, or we're going to pop. Okay, but in the meantime, again, the pattern itself told you that the rally was over for now. Now we're still long, and I still believe that we're going higher, but we could go lower first again. I mean, this is what happens. This is why predicting is for imbeciles.
But again, the one thing we do know, and that it did do, is that the GDX and the NUGT did outperform gold on a percentage basis during the rally, and that's why it's gold on steroids. Nugget is gold on double steroids. GDX is gold on steroids. The miners tend to outperform on the upside and underperform on the downside. So when you're looking at these markets, you got to keep that in mind.
100%. NVIDIA, November Victor Delta Alpha, which we are still short as well. And again, these are, look, the trends are the trends. And you have, this is at another key moment, another descending triangle that if it breaks to the downside, it's got a lot of room to go. Okay. Now we're still short.
Put a 165 target on that. Just put a buy recommendation with a 165 target on this thing, but it doesn't look good.
No, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's 230. It's 213 right now. I would say 210 is the first level of the first battlefield that will show. And then 200. If we get below 200, 165, here we come. Okay. So in the meantime,
and by the way, if you're right about your call on the stock market and the trend is right, you're going to get 165.
I agree. Okay, 210 to 230 for today. Penn, this is, obviously another gambling stock, which is just under pressure. And, it's interesting at how much pressure they're under. But again, it's just showing you that they, again, like DraftKings and like some of the others, they've spent too much money in acquisition costs and given too much of the shop away. And the problem with these companies is they cannot hit a home run on one big deal because they can only work on, basically they work on 5% of what they call the handle, which is the total dollars bet. They make 5%. So again, right now we're still short and it looks like it wants to go lower. 40 looks like it's a major level, 40 to 45. But it looks like it wants to go significantly lower. So we'll continue to watch it. We are short. The Qs, Quebec, which we are still short as well. And they're breaking down again, just like the NASDAQ. It's breaking down through some key levels. And it wouldn't surprise me at all to see this go back under 300 before it's all over. But for today, this key level of about 315, you're right in where it's at now, it's a little bit lower, is key. But the real key is that 325 is where you want to look to be a seller, 330. Okay, look, again, if we get the big rip your face off dead cat rally, dead cat bounce, you want to be a seller. Okay, until proven otherwise, that's what we want to see is selling. Okay, so the support, there isn't any real true support other than where it's at right now. Okay, but overall, I can see it going significantly lower. And for me, I'd be looking at 325 to 330 to sell it. I'm already shorted, but I'd look to sell more. A Riot, okay, which is like Mara. And again, look at the ugliness of this continuing to go down. And this was just 80 bucks. Now it's 14. And I'm assuming your target here is under 8.
I was just going to say under 7.
I'm waiting for the Colonel. I'll get the answer. But again, this looks awful. Okay. It's still like 14 to 18, but it looks awful. Now, we don't carry this in any portfolio. We took Mara over this, but it looks awful. Okay. Now, again, if you want to try to play Bitcoin, this is a way to play it. Again, these are ways to play things that you may not necessarily want to play through the ways that you can play them. Okay. So that is
under 5.
Oh, here you go. under 5 for Riot, and coin 120. Okay. Again, this is from somebody that I consider an expert in this field. Okay. So in the meantime, right now for today, 14 is still holding up as support. 18 or so is still resistance, and we'll see. And here's a Roku, okay, which continues to go lower. We continue to remain short. Okay. Look, again, I think if it goes below 100, it's going to 80. Okay. That's what I think. Okay. But right now it's able to hold 100. But again, once again, you've got that very bearish appearance here that it could break it. Now, the market just reopened. The Dow's up 50. The Nasdaq's up 38. The S&P's up 8. Russell's up 30 ticks. Crude is, it's hard. I forget where it closed exactly, because a lot of these prices are not exactly accurate, because whatever happens after the actual close of their market, which is the original pit hours, is either subtracted or added in here. But in the meantime, they're opening a little bit positive, which would mean that I'd be looking probably to be a seller again. Okay, but Roku, 100 is key. Okay, I would love to sell some at 120. Okay, and I think, again, if it goes below 100, I think 80, here it comes. I'm buying puts. Be careful. Don't just buy puts, sir. Okay, puts are dangerous by themselves. You have to understand the implied volatility, and there's probably a better strategy you can use than just buying straight puts to create, to save on the time decay, okay, and put yourself in a better position that you don't necessarily need the big down move right away. So don't just jump.
We might, by the way, the VIX is at 32, right? 32-ish. That's that, last we're used to looking at the VIX around 10. This is telling you that options, just straight option buys, are 3 times more expensive than they were. So you got to be very cautious. Like Bubba said, there's ways to put this on, to spread them, to use them. There's
a lot of different strategies that you can use to create the put versus just going in and buying puts, because I'm not going to say, options themselves are always fairly priced, except when they're expensive. Okay. They're never cheap. So, but there are much better ways. So please just don't jump in and buy puts, no matter how bearish you are, because
when implied volatility goes up, the time decay can be brutal.
Right. Okay. And then of course, square dance.
And one other thing.
Go ahead.
There's nothing worse than calling a market right and losing money.
And just ask Lenny Dykstra. Well, it's a true story. They loaded up on puts in November of 08.
Right. And
they went out of business in March when the index got cut in half, but of course they overpaid for all their puts. So that's what shows you.
Right.
In the meantime, Square Dance, which we are short again. And again, this looks awful as well. And they're a pretty good company. But again, one thing you got to learn about markets, when selling begins, nobody is safe. Okay. And they're all going to get hammered. The question is to what degree will they get hammered? And a lot of that be based on how much they got overvalued going into the moves of where they came from. And then, of course, some will start to bottom. For example, in 2008, in November, Amazon actually bottomed in November of 08, okay, at $30. Okay. So
you remember, because what happens is that alpha goes out the window and it's all about beta. And beta is it moves with the stock market.
Okay. And the SPY, I didn't give you levels, I don't think. I think I forgot. Sierra Quebec is 110 resistance, 90 support, but again, I ain't buying it. So 90 though. The SPY, Sierra Papa Yankee, ugly. And I'm telling you, this low is going to be tested. Okay, at 410. Whether it goes below there or not, I would suspect it will. But I think before you see any real rally, you're going to see that 410 come into play. Okay. And here I would tell you that I'd be looking at, 428 as a spot to sell it. Okay. And 410 as a support.
And I think to take this further, before you see any kind of rip your face off rally, you might see a spike low.
I agree. Well, that's what I said. And I stand by that. If you come in like, for example, if you come in tomorrow morning, okay, and the markets are getting crushed, okay, look for a spot to nibble and buy for a trade. Make sure you use a stop. Okay. But that would be an opportunity because that's where when everybody's panicking and puking it out, that's where the rally's going to come from. Okay. It always does, because the weak hands get flushed out and then suddenly they're out, and now the markets can easily turn and you'll see them chase like rats after it. And that happens all the time. Okay. Tango, Quebec. Of course, we don't cover it anymore, but it is a short, and it continues to break down, as does the NASDAQ, because this is the NASDAQ on steroids. Now, this is just full disclosure. If we do get a big capitulation downside move, and I'm going to take a shot, and I think the NASDAQ has the right place, I'll trade futures myself. But if I was looking for a stock to play, this is the one I would play on a capitulation down move. Okay. But that's just, again, that's a trade only, not an investment. It's strictly looking for a quick bounce from a bottom. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta have your head examined if you buy this as an investment. This
you go broke.
Right.
You'll be down money. Okay. 44 is resistance, and we're at support, like it's just under 40, but 40 is a number to watch. Okay. And Tesla, again, as I said last week, I believe they're going to take this low. And I think I still say the same thing. They're coming back for this low before they do anything. And I think you've now got, 880 as resistance, maybe even 840 now. Okay. And 720 or so is the key to watch. Okay.
He's got some supply problems, because like everyone, but he's got some big ones. He's buying all his aluminum from Rusal, the Russians, nickel from Norilsk. You got to be very careful with this stock. He might buy, he might have some problems in terms of sourcing inputs for his vehicles.
Daryl, since you're new, I'll go through it. I don't usually cover these anymore. We were playing back in a few months ago. We were playing for a potential that the Fed would legalize marijuana. The federal government would do so. And then we realized that we were wrong, and they were never going to legalize it until Altria and the big guys were ready, Constellation Brands, and they were going to screw the little guys and let them burn out all their cash building up the infrastructure. And then Altria and those guys would swoop in. So we don't really cover this anymore, but for you, I'll take a look at it because you're new. In the meantime, look, at the end of the day, I mean, if you want to gamble on pot that it's going to be legalized before, then this is what you can play. But I don't see it anymore. I think that I was wrong. Okay. I think I got fooled by the volume in here, and I think it's just going to zero. That's what I think. Okay. The VIXI, Victor X-ray, we continue to be long, and of course it continues to go higher. And it not only does it go higher, but it's going higher almost perfectly. Okay. And it's actually setting up for that dead cat bounce that would bring the VIX probably back down to around 26 or 27. Okay, back to where it was on Friday. And then you would see it spike up again higher. I think we're going a lot higher here, which is why I've told guys on the Saturday call to not roll up anymore, just wait, because I think we're getting a much bigger move, and we are long this as well in the portfolios. And this is exactly why we're long it for the up moves, because the multipliers in these ETFs, when they get going, it starts going up in lumps. Okay, that's the beauty of these ETFs when you're on the right side of it. Okay, in the meantime, watch, 30 is obviously a little bit of resistance, and 26 is pretty solid support. And when, what the hell happened to when Macau, China, it was China. Okay, and you're seeing this thing just get murdered. Okay, look, is it a value? Now this, if you ask me about Win versus Baba, and you said, is that a value play? I would say I'm not going to try to catch the flying knife here, but if you force me to buy one of the two, this is the one I'd be buying. This is still here, and they're still a very viable company. Okay, versus Baba, which I know nothing about. In the meantime, we're short, and I don't see any support coming nearby. I would suspect that 70 to 72 would be a sell. Okay, and XBI, which I told you was going to break down below this 80, and here it is. Now we're at that key moment in time. Okay, and it's done exactly how it should. It is consolidated after going down too fast. I'd expect the next move to be lower and break, and levels 80 to 88, and zoom. Look, I told you below 100, and it's going. And look at this, bang. There is no support here. The zoom, the COVID, the zoom is over, and now we're getting some what real valuation should be in some of these companies. And to me, I would be a seller of this at 100. Okay. And I see no support. I wouldn't be surprised to see it at 50 before too long. Okay. So in the meantime, you know, if you had any ones you want me to look at real quick, I'll be happy to do so. But I will tell you all, and I know Andy supports this message, just be very careful. You have the opportunity to make a lot of money in this market right now, but you cannot be a pig. Don't trade too big for the amount of money that you have. You will lose your ass. Okay. Bubba said Zoom is over. The Zoom, the Zoom deal, you know, from when we were in COVID is no longer in play. Okay. They're not
Yeah,
chasing.
by the way, the other thing is, Bubba, you know, we always say ignore the news. The news is so difficult now. It's so misleading across the board. The pundits you see on TV, it's, you know, on all the financial news stations, they're tying everything into the war. They're tying everything into the inflation. You're going to have a flurry of it on Wednesday with the Fed meeting. Watch the price action, because the price action tells you all you need to know. It really does. Don't look at it through, when you listen to the news, you're putting a filter over the price action. It screws up with your thought process. Watch
Right.
that price action. That's all that counts.
That's what you want to watch. Glencore, you know, looks pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the pullback was natural. Too big of a rally, a little bit of a pullback. I mean, you know, I don't trade this, but certainly if I did, I'd be looking at $12 to be a buyer.
This is a great stock. This is a great company. They're a merchant and they're a producer. This
Okay.
is, you know, I mean, I full
So,
disclosure, I've owned this stock since
I would
$3.
look at $12 if I were. I don't play this, but if I were, I'd be looking at $12 here. What is that one? Angloy? What the hell is that? Angloy. NG November Golf Lima Oscar Yankee.
Anglo-American.
No, see, I don't know. I just know what
South African metals.
Oh yeah, I do. Now I do know what that is. Yeah,
This
I mean,
gold.
this looks. I mean, you know, again, it had a nice rally. It got too far ahead of itself. Came back down to the support. Okay, so, I mean, look, I don't trade it. I don't own it, but I would certainly, if I were looking for it, I would certainly be looking to be a potential buyer on here. But it's
Right.
awfully,
By the way, this stock is in GDX.
it's awfully thin. It's hard for me to get too excited about something that is so thin.
That's because it's an ADR, right? So that this stock is in the GDX, and it's populated with all the best ones, and they're going to all act together. I don't like the idiosyncratic risk of these individual mining companies, especially one in South Africa, where you could have problems with a specific
Take care, Dougie.
or management. Right. That's why I like GDX. And
I don't disagree. I mean, again, there's reasons, and that's one of the beautiful things about futures compared to stocks, right? Futures are the future, and they don't have to worry about earnings. They don't have to worry about the CEO getting caught with a secretary and or sexual abuse, any of those things that go on. There's no bad news. They trade whatever the market is trading.
Unless they're on the LME, right, Bubba?
Right? Okay.
Well, that's, by the way, yeah, I think it just to sum things up today. Just want to, you know, we look at a lot of risks. We look at price risk. We look at all, you know, the LME highlighted accessibility risk, which is something that, you know, you got to also keep in mind.
Exactly. So look, at the end of the day, okay, be careful. There is a tremendous amount of money to be made. There is a tremendous opportunity around, but you cannot be a pig and you cannot trade too big for your account size. Otherwise, you will lose everything, because that's the way it gets. GDX preferred over well, I mean, either one's okay. GDXJ is a little bit faster. Mosaic, I'll look at Mosaic.
By the way, just to clarify what I said a little bit is, you know, when I talk about the LME and the exchanges, I'm talking about the very illiquid things. We're not, this is why we don't trade lumber. We don't trade palladium. We don't trade things like nickel or on the LME. We only trade in the most liquid things because we want to be able to get in and out when we want to get in and out. And, you know, this thing just tells you how dangerous these illiquid markets are. Believe me, there's a lot of people trapped in that nickel market like rats underwater.
Right. All right. Private, since I know you want to get out of here, I'll go to the other stock in a minute. But right now, I'm not done yet, but right now I have Houston getting to the Final Four, and I have Virginia Tech advancing. Okay. And I have an outside small bet on Virginia Tech getting to the Final Four at 300 to 1. Okay, that's right now, but there'll be more, but that's what I got right at the moment. I don't like Tennessee, which you do. But again, that's why they make a market, right? In the meantime, Mosaic looks great. I mean, look, fertilizer. I mean, potash is weak. This is going to be just like go to Pluto. Okay, I mean, this is there's a high demand and a low supply. So
There's no supply. I mean, this is the only game in town.
I mean, 56 would be a level I'd be looking at this at. And again, same as the other ones. Notice it went up too fast. It is now just in a consolidation phase. Okay. So Deutsche Bank. Okay. Well, Deutsche Bank, again, I don't know what he's worried about. They're not going out of business. If they didn't go out of business last time, they ain't going out of business now. In fact, they're probably a buy down here somewhere. Okay. I mean, I've traded. I used to trade. I don't trade anymore, but I used to trade it. Okay.
I don't think he's asking about the stock. I think he's telling you about the MD that had a sex change operation.
No, it could be.
I'm transitioning too, Baba. I'm gonna become a dog.
Yeah, it's funny. I sat at a bar the other night when we went out to dinner, and Pam gives me a poke in the ribs with her elbow, and I look over and there's somebody sitting there with a full beard, okay, in a woman's body. I go, which way are they going? I don't know. In the meantime,
it's the new world. It's the metaverse.
The metaverse. I love the metaverse. All right, again, just be careful out there. Okay, it's again, a lot of money made in volatility. It's what we traders strive for. But again, if you put yourself in a bad position by over leveraging yourself, you end up in the toilet. So have a great week, everybody. We'll see you. I'll see some of you tomorrow morning, of course, for live trading, but the rest, hedging tomorrow night for those who are coming. And we'll see you around the neighborhood. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Andy.